Start the go-kart. I successfully got these scooter wheels on with the 620 ZZ bearings. I just tacked the nut on there just so it'll stay in place because they don't have a nylon insert, so I don't want them to vibrate loose and then I lose the front wheel, because that wouldn't be the greatest thing, I'd imagine. And then of course, same thing, different rim, but tack the nut. This one's aluminum, the other one's steel, but it's what I got laying around. And surprisingly, these are actually, it shouldn't be surprised, these are way much better than these shitty tires I got right up here. I mean, you can even see, look at that. You can see daylight through those bearings. That's bad juju. These aren't good, these aren't any good. And that's not even, look, this isn't even in a tire. You see the stupid fabric laced within the quote-unquote rubber. It's not, it's fucking nylon. Fucking cheap bastards. But I have the custom exhaust back on. I was originally running these the stock exhaust right there, just so it'll be quiet when I run around, because I didn't want to draw too much attention. But a side note here is I added a support beam. There's a little mount right in the engine, and I went down and welded it to the underside. So this really, like, there's a huge difference with the motor vibrating. So it doesn't shake the go-kart apart as it usually does. And then of course my chain tensioner, which is super quiet. Oh my gosh, am I in love with it. So that's a plus. And I've been riding this all dang day yesterday and the day before yesterday, and look at this. You still have the little I'm gonna call these nipples on the tires. This is just where you see little holes where they go to cast the tire and extrude the rubber. So these I know are gonna last a long time, because I've been riding around day after day and you still got these little tire spikes on them. With these wheels right here, these shitty fucking rear wheels that I was using were wearing down within the first hour, because they're just dolly wheels. They're not meant to take a load. But anyways, there we have it. I took off the brakes. Yeah, stupid me. They weren't doing jack shit. You literally pull the lever and nothing would happen. So it was anticlimactic. The brake pads on the actual what is it called? Brake cylinder just wasn't adding up. So I thought about using. I have a 1980 Honda CB400T right here. It's in the middle of restoration, and I took off the master cylinder just to see if it'll work, and no chances of that. So I'm resorted to buying just an actual brake disc itself rather than using a hub and a brake. Just a brake with a built-in 1-bore hub on it, and get a brake clamp, probably from Northern Tool or something like that. It's like 60 bucks, or just get a brake disc and a Chinese hydraulic brake assembly. So that's that. Oh, I also wanted to show you on the motor I got going on here. If you can see, I got a spring from the governor lever to the attach the actual crankcase, which is holding the pull start on, and the blower cover. And that's whenever you hit the throttle, it limits the clutch from engaging as much as you would, say, if you were to hit 3,600 RPM, the governor is stopping you there. You're not going to get any more RPM. Well, with the stiffer spring, this ain't going to engage all the way whenever you hit the throttle. And it's also going to help stiffen up the throttle just a bit. So I have that force feedback I've been looking for, because I don't want to buy a linkage kit, even though they're like 30 bucks. I'm going to make do with that one for now. So I have 2 springs, ensuring that this will snap back in place. The only thing I'm worried about, which I really shouldn't be, is the plastic lever controlling the actual intake valve on the carburetor right there will break. But it's not under any load, but I mean, it's plastic, so instead of it being metal, that's my only concern. So yeah, the next upgrade, and it should be happening in about a week, would be to get a torque converter, get that installed, and that way, instead of it having angled like this, it'll just be a direct drop with the chain going down to the sprocket, or that it'll be a little bit off. I don't really know how long it'll be. I might have to, actually, you know what, I will. because I also have the actual motor mount for the Harbor Freight engine. It's like a 4-point adjustment. It was like 80 bucks, and I'm gonna replace that rather than having this. I'm gonna call it an I-beam, even though it's not. It's just it reminds me of an I-beam. It's steel plate, I know. And the unistrut, I'm gonna cut that out, and I'm basically gonna redesign the whole back end so it looks nicer, and just have it one giant pipe coming across, or a square stock, and mount the motor plate to that. And I'll probably have a T-section just going here and here to give it that extra support it needs. Also, get rid of that janky thing. So that's that. So I'll go ahead and start her up and start riding and see exactly how well she does. The only, okay, before I actually ride again, my concern is I think I picked up just the wrong bolts. They're zinc coated steel, and I don't know if you can see this, but I tried to counteract the camber and they just bent right back. So and that's after, you know, hours and hours of riding, you know, slowly hitting bumps. So I'm not really worried about it nicking this front wheel off, as long as I'm not going too crazy with it. So that's just something to keep in mind. What I want to do is cut this off and put a spacer in between, kind of angle it just a bit so I can counteract my hubs, because, you know, those spindles are custom, so they're not exactly straight. So if I can get those worked out, or just spend 30 bucks on 2 spindles. But, you know, the whole point of this project was to make it, to DIY it, to make it yourself. The less amount of money you spend, the better. And I happen to have most of the stuff, quote unquote, most of the stuff just laying around from a workout machine. And you know, the first set of tires were 20 bucks a piece from stupid Tractor Supply and Harbor Freight. And then of course the motor, 170 bucks. And then I eventually got better wheels and a live axle assembly and all this good stuff. So yeah, let's get riding, shall we? I also managed to fix the idling problem I had, so it's nice. I'm not going to worry about it dying, because it should be good to go. Now keep in mind, with this custom exhaust on, it's going to be pretty loud. The video I made yesterday didn't have the custom exhaust on, so if you're wondering why, that's why. Quiet. But man, will I tell you, does this go-kart have a lot of torque? And she died on me. You can kind of figure that one. Note to self in all Harbor Freight motors: if you floor it and you suddenly release the throttle, you are asking for it to die. And also, I have an exhaust that has a shit ton of back pressure, because I was a pansy when it came for me worrying about the motor not running properly. I also drilled out the jet and the carb. One sec. Alright, hopefully she doesn't die this time. It dies as soon as I say something. Just saying. Alright, we're clear. Let's go. I'm not going to go full throttle, only because there's no brakes. So with that in mind, I've really got to be really cautious, because don't ever do this. Don't ever ride a go-kart with no brakes. I know I'm being a bad influence, but you know, I've ridden so many things with no brakes, I kind of trust myself. I mean, I've had so much fun, so I mean, if I happen to get in the wreck today, I get in the wreck, but I don't think I will. Knock on wood. Everything's clear. Nice stretch. Actually, we'll go ahead and floor it, and we'll see how she does. Nice and smooth, surprisingly. Unfortunately, because I'm recording at 60 FPS, I do not have center wing, so with no anti-shaking, it's not digital. It's always been, because I have I don't want to say static, but it's a fixed lens, so it doesn't move. So if the video is a little bit shaky, you're experiencing the actual vibration of the go-kart and how crazy it is. And compared to what it was a few days ago, it's not nearly as bad as That's what it is right now. It's actually really smooth. And instead of it being a back massage, it's more so like a cheek massage. The cheek isn't butt cheek. Because there's no, what's it called, anti-vibration mount between the chair and the actual go-kart. Let me go ahead and turn around right here. That's the part that's under construction, all down there and over here. But it's so much smoother to get up to speed. Like, it's a breeze, and it kind of scares me how smooth it is now. Over a simple chain tensioner fix. And with that exhaust on there, man, it sounds bitchin'. You hit the throttle and it's music to your ears. Especially for a single cylinder, $170 freaking 6.5 horsepower engine. And it turns out with this engine, most of the money is put into the actual mechanical part of the motor itself, such as the piston, the crankshaft, the connecting rod, the bearings, the seal bearings of the crankcase itself. The only thing that was cheaped out on, of course, was the material of the gas tank, the fittings for the gas tank, the hoses, the carburetor, the muffler, the full start, and the actual the magneto fan itself. So other than that, though, everything else seems to check up. If you were to spend $300 on the actual variant of this motor, which is the Honda GX200, which this motor is a direct clone of, and if you were to compare the two, you could see the actual quality difference, not only in the carburetor, but just the fittings itself. There's not plastic nipple fittings, there's actual metal fittings. You know, there's a what does it call it? Gas cutoff valve. I mean, this carburetor has one, but it's plastic, of course, and it relies on a simple what is it called? This rubber, and it's almost like a mouth. Diaphragm. There you go. You know, that's sad. It took me a good couple seconds to think of that word, diaphragm. Well, and yeah, well, I guess that falls into the carburetor. Is the actual floats itself in the bowl. Those are plastic. So, but everything else does seem to check out. The piston's nice. The gas and piston. It's got 2 rings sealing the piston. There's 2 oil returns, so it makes it easy to install the oil pump, oil cooler. We also plus, let's take a right here. Oh man, I'm recording with one hand right now. I'm not working on the steering wheel. So if you're wondering why it's super shaky, it's killing my left arm here. I wish there was a way though to mount it on the helmet. I have an S5, so I guess I could 3D print an actual mount for that. I had a GoPro. It was the GoPro Hero 4, but I had I forget the name. It's a Blade 300 something. It was a quadcopter, and I had the GoPro for that, and I sold the quadcopter, and I also sold the camera with the quadcopter. So, unfortunately, no aerial footage of me riding this go-kart. But actually, that'll be soon to come, because I'm looking into a DJI Phantom. So stay tuned for that. That'll be something. But that won't happen for a couple months from now. What I want to do though is I want to move the gas tank from the actual motor itself to actually separate and a little bit to the right of it. Only because I want to have more room for expansion for the motor. Because I feel like I'm limited by the gas tank. And also I could utilize those 2 mounting points that are actually attached to the crankcase itself and use that for mounting points to keep the motor from vibrating itself apart. I mean, it's just room for possibilities right now. But I'm fine with it. Over here, you're gonna notice to the right we have a ditch. Nice place for water to build it up for. Oh man. killing me. Cool. And she died. Alright, I'm literally all the way across my neighborhood, but she's not a bitch to start, so that's the good thing. So thank you guys for joining me in this adventure with this go-kart, kind of just in the neighborhood. But I'll go ahead and catch you in the next video. Peace.